how do you feel that your time in the Marines and, time being deployed as well, because not everybody gets that experience, right?
That's right.
How do you feel like that's shaped you as a man, as a father, husband, businessman, and then has led to forming you for being a great candidate for mayor?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a loaded question, too.
I ask a lot of those.
Well, I will say this. When you've been in combat, you look at life through a different lens on the back end of that.
I can believe that.
You never take things for granted. And I reflect back on my time in Iraq, and I'm appreciative of the experience. It was amazing serving my country, and that was something I had been training for at that time for 12, 15 years of my career. But when you see what you see over there and you experience even what the Iraqis were experiencing in their country, for 2,000 years, for the most part, it's been a country where it's not been a democracy. They've been led by a regime of some sort. It's very tribal in nature. They don't get along, and you got dirt roads, and their sanitation and other basic services that we're accustomed to are wheeled outside the city and dumped in the sand. So it's you really get appreciation for how blessed you are.
Yeah.
And you certainly get a better perspective of how lucky you are to be alive and live in America. But it also has shaped me just in terms of being a father and a husband, because when you're there, you're wired for the experience, and you're also wired for the fact you may not come home. So the preparation with your family of the fact that you may not return, when you do come home, you look at your family in a different light, and you're certainly more appreciative of the time that you have and the relationships that you have with your family. My family, we're very tight-knit. It's the center of my universe, and we've always been very tight. And we're maybe not that family that goes on vacation with 5 other families. We like that time together because it's precious, and we know it's never a guarantee.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's real. Did you see a lot of loss over there?
We didn't. Yes, some of it was closer than others.
Okay.
We were there when we first got there. It was pretty rough. We were there during the lead up to the constitutional referendum and the national election. So Al-Qaeda was doing everything they could to stop democracy from happening. So we got there in August, late August, early September, and all the way through December, it was pretty heavy combat operations. And we were going door to door, clearing out cities, and then setting up safe havens where we could run patrols and keep the peace so that the elections could occur. Amazingly, after the national elections were over, it got real quiet.
Really?
Because Al-Qaeda had realized that
they lost.
So it went from combat operations more to civil affairs.
Okay.
And at that point, we're rebuilding roads. We're helping them rebuild their schools and put infrastructure and run water to the communities. And, stuff that looking back was really, it was a really neat time to be there.
Yeah.
Once you got past the combat piece and really started to see the fruits of your labor and see democracy really taking hold in that country.
That's really cool. How does that change your view of, or maybe puts in perspective the problems we see as a community or just in day-to-day life?
Yeah. And life has gotten so vitriol, hasn't it? I mean, from the national level all the way down to the local level, and especially in politics. I mean, there's so much hatred, and people are so divided. And when you've experienced that, you realize that, man, again, we're really blessed here. Our problems are small. I don't want to say that everybody fits into that category. We certainly have our own challenges here in Westfield, but for the most part, we're in a pretty affluent community. It's a great place to live. We're routinely ranked as one of the best places to live in America, and we're fighting over things that are really insignificant compared to what people overseas and even other places in our country are dealing with.
Yeah, that. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about how there's more people on antidepressants than SSRIs in a suburban community than there are other places in the world. And I'm not going to quote the statistics. I cannot remember what it was, but it just seems very problematic that we've allowed our society and our communities to become too soft, and we've made everything too convenient to the point where we're not serving a purpose anymore. That purpose is to provide, it's to feed, it's to nurture, it's to educate. And when you give that responsibility off because you can pay somebody for it, yeah, of course you're going to get depressed.
Well, and it's amazing too. So you're in combat for a year. Well, we weren't there quite for a year. About 9 months of the year, there was a workup and a period where we were basically returning home.
Yeah.
But for those 9 months, we didn't have cell phones. We certainly didn't have access to Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. And what a blessing that was.